Hello! I'm making another video today for OCD Awareness Week. My bun is absolutely crazy today. It is really defying gravity and it's quite impressive. Anywho, today I thought I would talk about OCD things that you might not know. These are some things that I've just learned and some of them I've known for a while, but generally speaking, they're just things that you might not have thought of, that you might not know. If you don't know much about OCD, they might be completely new concepts to you and might be completely not what you think OCD actually is. So let's talk about OCD things that you might not know. The first thing is that rituals and compulsions can take hours. Somebody with OCD usually has some form of rituals, whether they're mental rituals or physical rituals or behaviours that they have to carry out in order to feel safe and to ease their anxiety. I think sometimes when we talk about these rituals, people don't understand the severity of these rituals. But during lockdown, for example, when my OCD was gotten really bad again, OCD was, everything. My full-time job was OCD and doing the rituals took hours, and even when I'd done all the rituals that made me feel safe, more would come up. And they're kind of like, the best way to explain it is rules, and there was kind of rules around everything. Certain, clothes on the floor would have to be put away in different ways, or they weren't allowed to be put away, or, the rules that OCD makes up are very complex and time consuming. And I think that's the biggest thing with OCD, is it's not just, an anxious thought. It's something that takes over your life physically and mentally, and it's just, it's a very time-consuming illness to have, and it's just bizarre in the way that it comes out, and can be very difficult to explain. The second thing is that if you are somebody that suffers with OCD and you have maybe violent thoughts or dangerous thoughts, or I remember one I had was years ago, and it was when I found out that in town in Edinburgh where I live, somebody had burnt down, or the TGI Fridays there had burnt down, and I remember being fixated on the thought of, is when I had OCD at the time, really badly, and I remember thinking, like, maybe the person that burnt it down had OCD and their OCD had told them to do that, and what if one day my OCD tells me to burn down a building and literally there's nothing I can do about it, because OCD is the most convincing thing you're gonna ever experience if you ever experience OCD. The thoughts sound insane and they sound completely illogical, and I think deep down a lot of the time we do know they're illogical, but there's this part of us that feels like, but maybe it's not. Maybe if I burn down that building, I will save these amount of people, or I'll never get sick, or something like that. And it's, it sounds completely illogical, and now the thought is, God, that's crazy that I felt like that. But a really important thing to know is that these thoughts don't make you dangerous, they don't make you a danger. And I think for a while I was thinking, if that kind of thing happened and I had no control over it and my OCD was telling me to do it, I don't know how I'd react. I think I probably would have drawn the line at that, but I can understand when it doesn't. And I think, OCD can convince us that we're dangerous and that we shouldn't be around people, we shouldn't be around children, we shouldn't be around vulnerable people, we shouldn't be allowed out, because what if we get a really violent thought when we're driving our car to swerve it? And these are thoughts that our mind is creating because it can't think of anything worse. Your mind, your OCD mind and your mind cannot think of anything worse than burning down a building. That's the worst it can do. And I think it repeats the thought often because you're so disgusted and horrified by it. And that's why it keeps repeating. It's not repeating because you're a bad person and you want to harm people. It's repeating because you're so disgusted by the thought of harming people and you're so scared of harming people. And so it's really important to know, if you're somebody that suffers with that type of OCD, or somebody, that it does not correlate to that person being a danger. And actually they're probably less of a danger because they're so scared of the thoughts that they're having. The next one is, I guess you might know from me talking about this all week, is that OCD is a very debilitating illness. I know that we can all maybe be guilty of for example, when I see people that have OCD about cleanliness, I'm like, I wish I was a bit more like that. I wish I was a bit more clean, because, I'm a very messy person. I have no, I need to really force myself to be clean. And then I think, actually there's no way that I would like to have any ounce of that type of OCD, because it will be hell for them. You know, people with cleaning OCD, their life is consumed by cleaning. And I remember there has been times in my life where I have wanted to choose OCD over my friends and family and loved ones. And if I had a choice, if I had to choose between OCD and people that I really loved, I would have chosen OCD every day of the week, because it was terrifying not to be consumed by the OCD. You know, like every single thing it told me to do, I would do. There was not one single thing that it ever asked me to do that I didn't do. And it's just all consuming. It completely takes over your life. And I think people maybe think of OCD as being an anxiety illness. They think it's like anxiety, they think it's like depression. Both of which, those illnesses, are also can be completely debilitating and extremely severe. I have had very unbelievably extreme anxiety, but OCD really takes it. Like, OCD is constant and you have to constantly be doing things. And you know, the first time my boyfriend stayed at my house and I hadn't really gone into OCD that much with him, I had to switch the light switch on and off before we went to bed and things like that. You know, I didn't give a shit that if he thought that it was really weird that I was switching light switch off and off, because I had to do it. There was no other option. I couldn't have not done it. And I don't think I've ever switched a light switch off in a normal way since I was probably 15. And so many people in my life have seen me doing that, and you know, yeah, it's a very debilitating and serious illness that needs to be taken seriously. The last one I've pretty much covered before, but OCD is so unbelievably convincing, and I think that's where maybe people that don't have OCD kind of don't get it, maybe, because they think, well, obviously you're not going to be sick from not putting your clothes away or putting your clothes away. There's no logical, you know, or factual way that can make you ill, and you know that because you're a human being that functions normally too. And I think people just don't see how convincing OCD is. And one of the therapists that I have had over the years explained it to me like, if your dad, so me and my dad are really close, if my dad had thoughts that, you know, I would die if he didn't brush his teeth 10 times a day, he would do that. If he had the thoughts that were as convincing as my OCD is to sickness, he would do the compulsions that it's telling him to do. It's just an illness that wires your brain differently, and it doesn't make you crazy or insane, and the thoughts sound bizarre. They sound absolutely mental, and the things that you do for your OCD to make yourself feel safe are bizarre too. But anybody that was in your position that developed OCD would have the same reaction. It is so unbelievably convincing. It's the most convincing thing that I've ever experienced, and it takes a lot to try and challenge those thoughts. And I have obviously videos on my channel about me challenging those thoughts, and vlogs of me doing the things my OCD says I'm not allowed to do. And I'm on that journey now of like really trying to combat those thoughts, and every day it's a challenge to not give into it. But every day that I don't do what my OCD tells me to do, I'm getting a little bit closer to maybe a time without OCD at all. Like I've said before, you can overcome OCD. OCD is not something you have to live with forever and ever. And I know that it feels like, how the hell am I supposed to get out of this? It's just so difficult to explain to people. It's so difficult to live with. But you can get better. Therapy really helps with OCD. And I know there's medications that definitely help some people. Maybe don't help everybody, but I think that medication is also worth a go. But also, hopefully these videos can help you, and there's so many people online that have great platforms for OCD. I'm going to leave OCD UK's website down below, because I really, really love OCD UK. I think they really hit the nail on the head with a lot of stuff. And so, yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it helped you, and I'll see you soon. Bye!